Definitely not me. I don't know if it's you or not, but we do have the Casanova, the Cat's Cradle, coming out of Houston. That is the wonderful Grant Cole, the debonair desperado up in Dallas, Mr. Rick Collins, and I, of course, am the alluring audio aristocrat down here in Austin, Texas. Dustin's there. Welcome to Texas Rugby Monthly, gentlemen. It's been a busy month of rugby in Texas, man.
I think we called it before we even went off last time that it was going to be, 4 or 5 weeks in before we got back together, and it's been a wild 4 or 5 weeks.
It's been crazy. I mean, we're talking 5 weeks of MLR. Club play is back. High school play is back. Crazy things have happened all over the place. Man, it's been good. You guys been doing all right, hanging in there. Managing. Have you watched every single rugby match that you've been able to get your hands on this past couple months? Or past month, excuse me.
Especially now that the Rugby Network's on Roku.
Oh, hey, just today
news that came out.
Wait, are you guys both Roku guys? Is that why?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I have Apple TV. I don't think it's on Apple TV, so I don't know. I just use
this fancy guy down here in Austin.
I know,
that's how
man.
They do it in Austin. They're fancy.
That's how we do it. It's all tech all the time down here in Austin. Of course. Why would we want anything else? I mean, Roku. Come on.
Yes, because Roku's not tech. It's so analog.
No, it's good. I think obviously that's been big news, right? The Rugby Network has been. You think about like all the different streaming services, and I just go back to like Flow Sports and having to pay to watch the ARC or pay to watch the USA Eagles. The MLR did it right, and with the Rugby Network, in order to get the game out to the public, right? We've got our 1 to 2 matches a week that's on Fox Sports 2, or last week it was on Fox Sports 1, which is even better. And then obviously the CBS Sports Network game of the week. But for anybody else that wants to watch a single match, you can go online or go on your Roku now, or on an app, or on your phone, or on your tablet, and you can watch every rugby game that's out there right now, and the MLR, of course. But that's a pretty phenomenal move for Major League Rugby in general.
Yeah, I think that they're gonna continue to expand the service, providing I'm guessing other rugby that. This will end up costing money in the future.
Sure.
But for the first year, to allow us all to be watching every single match, not only watch them live, but we can watch every single replay on the same app. We don't have to go somewhere else for the replays. And we can watch highlights. We can get analysis, post-game analysis, and everything like that, and stories and everything on the same app. I think it really is a gigantic win for MLR.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that for the most part, I feel as though like the stories that come out, the stuff that they're doing with there's so many people who do random programming, like the rugby wrap up. Like he's been working on that for years. They're on the Rugby Network. The new show from Ben Foden and I forget who's Ben Foden's co-host right now on their little show, The Clubhouse. I don't know. I haven't watched an episode. So.
I haven't watched it either. That'd be an interesting.
Yeah,
Didn't Blaine Scully announce that he was doing something on there as well? He was going to provide content.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I had no idea. But I think that's one of those things. For obviously the Rugby Network is a tech. We can talk about it on this show because it is out of Texas. They're running it out of Austin. Like the studio is here in Austin. I've been in talks with the guys to potentially do some stuff to some ideas that I've had that I want to pitch them, because I think there needs to be more content, more, American sports fans want more content, right? They will just want more sports analysis, in-depth analysis. Like the 30-minute show that they're doing on Fox Sports 2 every Tuesday is fantastic. The replay is great, but people just want more. They want more stats,
Yeah, and they want it daily,
more debate, right?
Updates on injuries, on signings,
Oh
and
God!
things like
don't
that.
even talk about injuries with people right now. Just give a damn injury report.
But there's an injury report now being released to the
really?
public that we can see, and
When did that
that
happen?
sort of stuff. It's coming off the Rugby Network. I don't remember who's writing it up, but it's a write-up. And I mean, it's something that's an advance on the last couple of years.
It also requires that the teams. It also requires that the teams put into that report, contribute to it.
Yeah.
And not all of the teams are contributing.
Yeah, I mean, I can be honest. I had a conversation with Simon Thomas, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, do you know? Will they ever? I mean, because there's betting that goes on for MLR, right? And if you are, I don't gamble on sports or anything like that. But if you're a sports gambler, if you bet on the games, you want to know who's injured, who's not, who has a potential of playing, who doesn't. If I'm going into, say last week, for example, when Austin played Seattle, if I'm going into the match and I don't know, you got to get your bets in ahead of time, and you don't know that Isaac Ross is playing, you may, place your wager a different way. Instead, Isaac Ross plays, has six line-out steals and 7 takes, and makes everybody else look like they're childish. Anyway, so, but yeah, I think that this, Rugby Network overall doing great things. Obviously, it's everywhere. There's other stuff for rugby too. Other places you can go to watch things like Texas Rugby Monthly, our Facebook page. A shameless plug as always, because it's our damn show. We can plug it all we want. But obviously for Texas Rugby Monthly, the Huns and Blacks played, which is we'll talk about here in a minute. But I showed that game. The Huns streamed it, and I co-streamed it and sent it over to everybody so that you could watch it. If you tuned in and you want, if you're a rugby fan in Texas and just wanted to watch some rugby, tune in. You never know what's going to happen. I know that there's other games coming up around that we'll try to promote. I think the Huns do a pretty good job because they've got that kind of that high press box type thing that they just post a camera up. Sometimes the commentary isn't exactly the greatest. Little opinionated one side, not the other. Especially in a Huns Blacks derby. I mean, come on, there was some guys on there that were talking about some penalties, and I'm like, you must be watching a different game than I am. So, no, but it's good. So, hey, I tell you what, you want to jump around and talk about what's going on in each one of the cities right now, since
let's do it.
Crazy stuff. Unfortunately, we don't have a guest this week, which is okay. It happens. Our guests just we had one planned and then no communication from them. So we'll get, we'll find another one for next time.
I got to move to the back of the line now.
Yeah, now you got to go all the way back. So for into the 20th show, so into 2022.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's how busy we are.
Yeah, I'll kick us off down here in Austin. Since it starts with A, it is the first letter of the alphabet. There have been, I mean, I can be honest and say, if you're a rugby fan in Austin, you are just living exciting times right now. There is so much vibrancy around, well, sports in general in Austin, because Austin FC started, so that was exciting for them.
Got their first win.
Got their first win. Really, I will give major shout out to the AG's social media, Coach Harris, Coach Girard. They all sent out their congratulatory remarks to Austin FC, and for Austin FC claiming that they were like the first pro sports team in Austin, which is not true. I do think that the AGs have been doing a good solid, I'll call it. Telling everybody like, hey, go check out if you can. You can't get tickets to go watch Austin FC play. Unless you want to pay like $300 a ticket. Like, it's insane for when they start playing at home. Yeah, it's nuts. But just to support that, rugby is going crazy here. We've got all the teams are playing now. So the Valks played, Huns played, Blacks played, the Orcs have been playing. I know that the Round Rock Rage, they just updated their logo. I saw today, I think on social media, which is a new cool looking logo. I don't know if they're quite playing yet, but I know that they're continuing to practice. And I know the University of Texas down here, the men's and women's team, they've been out practicing. I think that they're potentially playing games, but I'm not 100% sure on that one yet, because I actually haven't seen them post a score, post updates on them playing. So maybe Rick, you have more insight into like the college scene if you know what.
I'll give it
on.
when I get my when I get to talk about Dallas.
Yeah, sure, that works, because I honestly, I can be truthful. I know I talked with the guys on the UT social media for the rugby channel or for the rugby team. I just don't know if they're actually playing right now. I know they're practicing, just not playing. Maybe. So all things aside, you know, my big three things right now. First one is definitely, you know, I think, yeah, I have to start with the AGs, right? You know, we started it probably a month ago when we were kicking off. We had, I can't remember if it was like right as we played our first game and lost, or it was close to that first one, but we lost our first two. And sorry, Grant, you know, I have to, but you know, it was literally that Houston match that set the catalyst for us and set us on a 4-game win streak. And you know, it's been, I was at the game last week. It was fantastic. You know, like 3,300 people out at the stadium, and you know, everybody's doing good social distancing. The crowd was excited. The team has been playing well. They probably played the best free flowing rugby that I've seen them play. Like if you watch the match, the offloads that they had, just the overall work rate of that team was phenomenal. Seeing Zinni come back from injury, he was out since the first game of the season. Like he got hurt first game of the season, been out. He ran 165 meters on 5 carries. Like that's just insane.
It was all those. He had that 70-meter return from a chip kick.
He made that defense He made that defense look ridiculous. By the way, like he broke through that line. Like, again, I still think Zenny has some of the fastest feet in all of MLR. But he just made him look silly. And to be honest, I think the overall play, you know, I know that everybody. I said this on a different podcast, and they talked about it. Somebody, I forget who it was. Maybe it was Alex Corbacero or whoever it is on the American Rugby Show or whatever the new podcast is of the 47 podcasts that are out there for rugby in the U.S. God, it's everybody. Somebody said something like, they said that Austin makes people play sloppy, and I took kind of offense to that. Or makes people play down to their level was one. I was like, at what point do people start realizing that Austin's not making people play down to the level? Austin just makes you play bad because of the defense. Like our defense is stifling. I will say this over and over again. And Grant, I'd love to get your opinion on it. You know, just you know, coming from the Houston side in that match, and that was, you know, that game was obviously, you know, not good on your side, but I think overall, like Austin has shut down high-powered offenses. They shut down NOLA. They shut down ATL. Like, you know, teams that average like 30 and 33 points a game down to 15 points, and make them force turnovers because they keep hitting like their gain line and just knocking them back, you know, 2 to 3 meters and slowing down their rucks. So, you know, Austin playing really well.
Yeah, the AGs definitely play a disruptive style defense, and that's why people will say they bring you down to their level, because the Biarritz type defense that basically disrupts an offense can be a little nasty.
Yeah,
and you know, and it is. I mean, there's no real around it. It is, but it's effective when it works.
Yeah,
when it can work, and with the referees we've got right now and the way they're managing the game, Austin is benefiting from that on their disruptive Biarritz style defense.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we talk about, we look at the stats, and you guys will appreciate this on this week's edition of the Austin Rugby Podcast. Our first ever guest joined us, Mr. Gordon Hanlon. And Gordon and I had a great half an hour conversation, longer than I have with the players, because it's more exciting to talk stats and analysis with Gordon sometimes, as you guys know. But, you know, we really talked about, you know, the way that Austin is, you know, our loose forwards, our Don Baileys and Michael DeWalls and McLean Jones, like they are the top in the top 10, top 15 in dominant tackles and ruck arrivals and in tackles made. You know, they're all in that category, and there's a reason for it. Like, they just punish people, and it's, yeah, right, Grant. It's ugly sometimes. Like, it's just, they force you to slow down in the rucks because they're trying to just jackal as much as they can, and they're trying to, you know, win every ball that they possibly can, and their fitness levels are just, I mean, it's kind of baffling how many. I see 80 minutes played, 80 minutes played, 80 minutes, 78 minutes played.
Well, and that's a hard game. That's a hard game to play.
Yeah.
Well, because, and that's why a lot of teams don't do it, because it is a hard. I mean, you really have to know what you're doing at the breakdown and what you can't do.
Yeah.
And you have to manage your referee, communicate with them, make sure that they know what you're doing, so that you can get away with it.
Yeah. Oh, we've definitely been penalized on this.
Yeah, they're going to turn a referee. If you're not communicating and managing a ref when you're playing a disruptive defense, then you're going to get in there, and the ref's going to see you doing something and not know that your arms are out and you were there legally, and it'll look, because at a glance, like you're actually on your elbows and not supporting your weight, which in fact you had your hands on the ball and the other team brought you down on your elbows.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to really communicate and with the referee and with your teammates in order to make that successful. And I think, if anything, Austin has managed that part of the game very well.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. And sometimes it's hard as an Austin fan, because you have your thoughts and opinions, and you always want to get outside, like, okay, what do people actually think? And going on social media is not exactly the best thing to do, because I think honestly, I still think people look at Austin as like, oh, well, it's still that team from 2019, and so they're going, man, they're so far from it. Like, Austin used to be the team that always found a way to lose. Shoot yourself in the foot, do whatever it is. And the first 2 games of the season, we kind of saw that. The last 4 games has been like, Austin has been that team that always finds a way to win, right? The NOLA game, the ATL game was just, you're talking about aging 10 years in a matter of 10 minutes, right? The stress level of Austin fans
those first 2 games, Austin was trying to figure out which hinge combination and spine combination it was going to go with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then once it found out that Pele to Mac was your best hinge, I mean, and then you put you could put Marath in the centers, and he's still overly effective.
Yeah.
That ended up being the right call.
Yeah. For
and
sure.
But those first 2 games, you didn't see that. You saw Mac out at 12, and I think Pele was injured at one point, or had a niggle or something.
Yeah, you had Pele at 9, and you had Will McGee at 10.
They got over that, and they got back. Yeah, and Will McGee at 15 is brilliant. Connor Mooney can switch into 15 and out with Will, and without a problem. And he's very expansive on the wing, because he's a playmaker and he's fast, and having a playmaker on the wing is dangerous.
Yeah. I have to say this, and when I sit there and I look at you talked about Connor, and I'm really, really sorry, Rick, about what could have been. I mean, damn, like, right? Like, his play, I mean, I think he's been on Team of the Week 3 times in 3 out of the 6 weeks. And just, I mean, he's explosive, he's electric, and those matches where we have Roderick Waters and Connor Mooney from Houston and from Dallas, it's it's one of those things where you sit there, and I'm just kind of, I watched him play. They're 2 completely different styles of play, right? So you've got Connor, who is just kind of that elusive, he'll juke and jive and try to move out of everyone's way. And then you have Roderick Waters, who runs, I can say this, he runs like Walter Payton. Like, he goes looking for somebody to barrel over. And I love that, because it's a complete, like, because, how do teams defend against Roderick Waters? I think what, Grant, did you call him like the Rugby Adonis? The one time, I think one time he called him like the Rugby Adonis, what I thought was it was a great analysis. But yeah, you know
Well, yeah, something like that.
so you know it's great. You know, I'm happy for Austin. I think they're playing well. I think you know, obviously, you know, as teams move forward in this season, we'll see more and more you know, positive play from, I think, positive play from them. I think we've seen that from Houston. You know, you had the 2 games in a row, and then, you know, now they're playing. I think Houston's playing really well. Like they're a free flowing game that's very simplified. But you know, Austin, I think, is they're finally figuring out how to play, what their style of play is going to be, and who they are. So that's my first one.
All right. Now are you gonna talk about the Huns and the Blacks?
Yes, I am going to talk. That's number 2, Huns Blacks, Austin Derby. Alex Reese and I talked about it on the podcast last week for Austin Rugby podcast. I gave him a hard time because he absolutely shanked his first kick. You go back and watch it. He took like a divot out. Like if you're a if you're a golfer, he basically took a 9-iron 3 to 4 inches away from the ball and just kicked it about 20 yards. So, you know, I tell you what, the past couple of years, as you guys know, Austin Blacks have just been they've been dominant. Like they're a tough team. They've been really good. They're up in people's faces. You know, they've owned the Huns for a long time. I think they won back in like the 70s. I think Bill Overton told me once, like, you know, the last win for the Huns was sometime back in the 70s. Maybe 1 or 2 matches here every once in a blue moon in the D1 level recently. But you know, the Huns came out, they won 39-17. Like honestly, it was a dominating performance. You know, I've watched the Huns play HTX, both of those matches, which were both great games. I'm sure, you know, Grant, you want to chat about that when we talk about HTX. But I think that you know, overall, I think that the Huns, they've got a pretty solid squad. And what's his name? Coleman, who is their 8. They call him Red.
Yeah.
I think that he was probably one of the best, maybe not the best player on the pitch. And come to find out that he's actually now he is going to be in the COVID bubble for the AGs as a potential backup. So
I see. Okay.
no, that's a good thing. That's yeah. So the AGs loose forward. I mean, obviously they've had injuries, but the loose forwards right now. So anyway, but this Coleman guy, like I think he's a fantastic player and pretty exciting. So club rugby back in Austin, Huns and Blacks.
Are we seeing at least in Austin that players are starting to move there to play club rugby, thinking
absolutely,
I'm going to get a shot with the AGs at some point?
I can't tell you how. I said this on the podcast with Alex Reese, and I guarantee that this is happening in Texas, and I'm sure my guess is it's happening in Dallas too, given that, you know, hey, next year, not this year, but maybe next year they have a team. People are moving to Austin. I can't tell you how many people a week or maybe 2 weeks write me to say, hey, I'm moving to Austin. I'd love to know if, you know, you can put me in touch with one of the clubs there. Who do you support, type thing? And it's like, I support all the clubs, but whoever you want to play with, here's some contact information for each of them. Like, you go pick and you know, pick something out, and you know, we'll figure that out. So I think the people there they're doing a great job. They are I think there's a combination, right? So it's not just the AGs, it's the development team. So the Outlaws is the new U20 squad or U19 squad, whatever. Okay. So there's it's the Rugby HTX for Austin. So it's the youth level. So they're building that up with Mark Gerard as the head and Mason Mason Herring as the kind of the assistant with that. So that's going well with them. So maybe it is that, you know, people are moving to Austin. Well, of course, there's a million people moving to Austin every day. But rugby players are
Hard to tell if it's specifically for rugby or not.
I mean, I'm sure some people work here or working for these companies that they're moving, the Oracles and the Googles and whatnot, and moving from Silicon Valley down here. But there are specifically rugby players moving here. You know, we get messages. I see messages on the Huns board that says, "Hey, you know, Joe Smith is moving to Austin to come play with us, and you know, this is his resume. Can somebody help him find a job?"
Him a gig.
Yeah, right. So, and you know, as a business owner, I try to do my best to connect people, and so I've connected a couple guys with, you know, different employment opportunities. I don't, you know, may or may not have end up working out, but at the same time, so far it's working out. And again, and that's probably adding to the reason why the Huns are building the team back up. But it's also, they've been working on it the past couple of years, and you know, the Blacks have been solid. They've lost some key players. You know, obviously Chris Bauman went and played with, you know, he left the Blacks and he's playing with San Diego now.
But his RV is still out at Bird.
But his RV is I was actually just getting ready. I was going to say that the RV is still out there. Yeah.
One thing I've noticed about the Blacks this year, and the 2 times we played them, is they played a fairly young team.
Yeah.
On their first side, and an older team on their second side against whoever they were playing.
Yeah.
And I think this indicates something that I'm pretty sure Tane wanted to do for a couple of years. And this is a season that it doesn't really mean anything to any of us.
No.
Okay. There's no championship on the line. So it's a good year for them to rebuild, bring their youth in, because they've got a lot of it.
Yeah, they do.
And instead of playing their youth on their second side the first few years like they usually do, and then before they make it up into their first side, they're playing their youth on their first side. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, these guys are ballers.
Yeah.
Okay. They just don't have the experience that a lot of the older guys who have basically said, okay, I can't play that first or second division rugby anymore. You know, they've got to, you know, they're on the way out. You know, Bradley Yandel's moving to Nashville.
He left today.
Yeah, and Conley.
I know, man. He was my backup on the podcast when Alex couldn't make it.
and you know, Meat is he's got kids and he's coaching so much now.
Yep.
So I mean, you know, everybody in that group is got a little movement going on, and you know, you can't. Dave Goss and Mike Norton can only play rugby for so long.
I tell you what, Mike Norton's going to play until he's 97.
Goss has been playing so long. I was playing with him and the Quins back in the day.
Well, I coached Goss, and my first game coaching Goss was September of 1996. So yeah.
Back when I was young, we used to walk to school both ways. Uphill with snow.
So yeah, so I mean, I like what's happening at the Blacks. They're basically using this year to build their depth, you know, in their youth, get them blooded, get them up against some teams that they're going to have to play in future years, and actually get them, you know, to learn, hey, what that taste is like to have to lose a game.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good,
especially a rivalry game. Like they were like you could tell they were pissed. Like they were not happy. And here's the thing, you know, rising tides raise all boats, right? And so basically, what's happening? All these young people are coming into Texas. All these young rugby players are coming to Austin, to Houston, to Dallas, with the hopes of playing with one of the MLR teams or getting in the development programs. And so they're going to have to play with the Reds, the Quins, you know, over in Houston, play with anybody over in Houston, you go again with HTX, you know, or come to Austin and play with the Blacks and the Huns. It's the quality of play is going to get better and better and better and better.
And it is getting better.
And it is like I distinctly remember watching the Huns Blacks not last year, well, pre-COVID, so 2019 was one of the last ones we were able to cover. And I went out and watched the match, and I was like, like you could tell a big difference in the quality, like in the play, like versus like versus this past couple weeks. I was like, man, there's just a different style. The backs link up better. The forwards have better structure. Like the structure is just better overall. So,
and now that a lot of these team owners are seeing the benefit of the U18 and the number of fans that it puts in seats, you'll see more U18 teams in the academy, and then those will see more seniors those players will eventually go on to play senior rugby.
Yeah.
And play it with senior academies. I mean, we've got 2 players on Rugby HTX that came up through the Sabercat system.
Yeah.
I think we actually have more now that the college is getting out, and we've got some college kids coming in.
Yeah, which is awesome.
So-
And I, like I was saying, like it'll be, we just did a lot of the they did the applications and stuff for, and I guess that the assessments for all of the Austin Outlaws for the AGs, their U18, kind of their development program, which I think will start. I don't know when it starts actually. I think it starts kind of in a couple months, but still summertime, and you start helping these kids build up, their rugby knowledge and skill set with some top level coaching. And I think with that and building that community, the Austin MLR players, they're staying here. Like I've talked to a lot of guys. Robbie Kutze, hooker for Austin. He's like, I'm moving my family here. Like we are moving. Like I've talked to his wife, and she's like, I love it here. I'm staying here. I want to raise my kid here. Like they just love it here and they want to stay. And that's a pretty cool thing, because in years past, all the, I know in Houston, you had a lot of guys stay around, but in Austin, everybody went home and went back to wherever they were from around the U.S. And so with everybody moving here, that plays better for rugby year round, just in general for Austin and for Texas. I'm sure it's happening all around. So, some summer ball where guys are playing sevens and things like that, which I think will be pretty cool too. So that's it. The last one I want to touch base on, and then I will turn it over to everybody else.
You've taken your hour.
I've taken, man, I know. Well, we've kind of sidebarred a lot too, because Grant wasn't quite ready, so I was kind of filling it in there too. I'm watching the clocks and stuff. Gentlemen, we talk about everything going on in rugby, and we primarily talk Rugby Union. And
for a reason.
Oh man, come on! I can't
wait to hear his reaction to this next point.
I know it's like so for a reason. Listen, I don't hate on the other code.
I don't either.
Code switchers is my idea for a podcast with where you talk rugby league and rugby union cordially. But it got announced. What's that? Is it possible? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
What got announced?
It got announced that there is the North American Rugby League, the NARL, and gentlemen, Austin got their own team, the Austin Armadillos. Up the Dillos.
So, fun fact about armadillos.
I can't wait.
Most run over animal in Texas.
They are. They'll blow your tire out.
When an armadillo has a litter, she only has a litter of 4.
Yeah.
And they're either all male or all female.
Okay.
Interesting.
There's no mixing of it. There's no mixed sex in there.
I'm waiting for
one or the other. No. It's just you're talking about league and it's insignificant, so I wanted to give you some insignificant.
Boom.
Boom, drop it. Hey, I think whatever. I think.
But
here's my thought, right? And I think you guys will appreciate this. Texas. What's Texas's biggest sport besides rodeo? Because rodeo is the official sport of Texas. Other fun facts you should know.
Foosball.
Foosball. Rugby league, right? So rugby league, the way it's played, you get five tackles, and then you have to kick the ball away. Very similar to football. So my theory is rugby league is the gateway drug for rugby union. No, I mean
to get football fans in,
right? So it's like, hey, you got to tackle, great, okay, well now we're adding rucks and scrums where you don't just tackle them and stand up and play the ball, but from the back foot. I like rugby league. It's fast paced, it's hard hits, it's it's a little more stoppage. It's there, there's no scrums for all of us. Well, the 3 of us who actually were in the scrum. So maybe it was better for us. We would have gotten around the field more.
Thank God, not very long.
Yeah, I know, right? Like their scrums are just like, and we're done. So, but I think that it's cool. If you want to go check out more, I recorded a special episode with basically one of the entire Western Conference is operating like an Olympic sevens type of program. They're all playing out of Las Vegas. So the Western Conference will play round robin for I think it's like 8 weeks or so. Everybody plays everybody. There's 6 teams they're all going to live in Vegas, train in Vegas, and play in Vegas.
That
And
cuts
then
costs down.
what's that? Oh yeah, it cuts the cost
That
down.
cuts costs
There's
down.
no cost. Well, there's cost, but there's no travel costs for them. And
Right.
then the Eastern Conference teams, they'll play each other. There's teams in Atlanta, New York, New Jersey, Boston. So again, travel costs are not as expensive up that way. But then they'll play a grand final, and the Western champions will play the Eastern champions. But the whole Western Conference is owned by one organization.
Wow.
And then with the goal of to bring them back to put their teams out, and they're in the next year, they're going to be working with local companies here in Austin and Phoenix and San Diego and stuff to find ownership to buy into the group. Kind of like the MLS is structured, actually exactly like the MLS is structured.
Yeah, very similar.
So it's fascinating. Big announcement, literally and figuratively, for the Austin Armadillos. The big Mikey, former Austin
The
Tongan
Tongan Godzilla?
No, the Fijian Godzilla.
Excuse me, Fijian Godzilla.
Mikey
Thank you.
Michele Nairamatanga. I can never get his name right. Nairamatanga. His name is very hard to say. He lost a lot of weight, and he's playing up with the Reds right now. And if you want to go out and watch him play before he's playing, he dropped some pounds. I bet he dropped 30 pounds or so in this past year. He's fit, but he is just a menacing figure. So anyway, that's my last one. Rugby League coming to Texas, coming to Austin, officially this year, but in physical presence 2022.
So I have a similar, not strictly rugby union, rugby story that this has been ongoing for about 6 months or so, but I've been in contact with them. There are going to be 2 Dallas area Aussie rules football teams, professional Aussie rule football teams playing in the same league, in a national league. Can't remember the name of the league, but
National Aussie Rules Football,
ARL or something like that.
League Association.
Yeah, and so I was just going off your rugby league. I wanted to make sure I got that in there because I'll probably go see a few matches occasionally here.
Yeah.
So outside of that, Jackals, it's obviously been slow comparatively because we're not playing. Now I know that there were some coaching moves that have happened over the last week and a half. Head coach Alan Clark will now be the technical director for Seattle, or at least one of the technical directors, as they made a few moves up there to let's say strengthen their coaching and management staff. And also Lee Radford. Now, Alan Clark is expected to be back, according to the Dallas Jackals, for next year to be the head coach of the Jackals for 2022.
Yeah.
To me, we shall see, but that is what they've posted on social media.
Yeah, they say that until somebody buys out his contract or says, "Hey, we'll
Exactly.
offer you this boatload of money to come coach us."
Exactly. Unfortunately, it looks like Lee Radford will be gone permanently as he's taken a head coaching job at Castleford Tigers in
the Super Rugby League.
Yes, exactly. Over in England, and I mean that's hard for him to pass up. That's really his true calling, and basically going home and taking a head coaching position, which obviously was something he would be very interested in. So, good for him. Unfortunate for the Jackals. They'll be looking for a defensive coach, hopefully, because looking at what Austin and Houston have put forward over the last couple of years, we will need to play defense. There's some serious scoring going on in MLR.
I say why? Other MLR teams aren't playing defense. Nobody plays defense. God. Yeah. Sorry.
Pretty much
nobody
all
plays
the
defense
news that we've had in terms of signings or losses of signings. We have had the Jackals announce that they've gone down and watched a game in Austin. The staff has. I know that the head coach or assistant GM, technically right now, I guess she's the head coach, Elaine Vassy, it just had her second child. So they are obviously not traveling and it's been very quiet on that front. Congratulations to them.
Yeah.
But the biggest news was that, just like you were saying in Austin, we have club rugby playing. So the Dallas Harlequins and Reds played this past week, and I know that both of them have played in past weekends. The Reds had fairly big match. Did they have the Huns? They had the Huns this past weekend.
They beat the Huns this past weekend.
They beat the Huns. And the Quins have the Huns in the upcoming weekend. Now, I went out, watched them play against Shreveport, and as Shreveport posted in their social media, I think it was kind of an unfortunate situation. The Quins wanted to get a good run out, so they put their D1 players out there first against the Shreveport team that would be playing D3. And the final score was something like 87-17 or 13 or something kind of crazy.
Ouch.
I think it was 17 was final. All the 17 points from Shreveport came at the very end when they were playing against what would probably be considered Dallas's the Quins Division III side.
Yeah.
So
and Shreveport? Are they Division II?
They're Division III.
Okay.
Oh, they're playing a bunch of D2 guys on that team though, because I remember playing against a bunch of them when I played.
Yeah.
So they've got D2 talent for sure, if not D1 talent on that team. But I believe they're playing
Division. Yeah.
They're playing. They had played Division III in the last season.
Final score of that Reds Huns match was 36-29 Reds.
Yeah, tight one.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it.
The Reds have a great team. They've had a great team for several years now. They've been in the national, championship running. So I mean, with the Blacks, it's just not surprising that they're going to probably have some runouts. Would not be surprised. They just announced the Reds and the Quins will play. I know the Reds Division II will play against Fort Worth in between the Reds Quins matches, and that will be May the 15th, I believe, at Lake Highlands. So
will there be a live stream of that match that could be on a Texas rugby channel?
There's a plan for that to happen. So look out for that in upcoming weekend. I don't know if we'll get a run of the game this weekend. I'm going to work with the Quins and the Reds and see if we can't get both of those streams as well for this upcoming weekend. I know the Quins Huns match would be a good one to have up.
That would be. The Huns usually post theirs if they're at home. The Huns usually post it or put it up on their page and do a pretty good job. Because that's how we get most of the stuff. But I think if the Quins do it, I mean, we'll post it on the page for sure.
So we've got that upcoming for this upcoming weekend. So second part, first part is what the Jackals are doing. Second piece is, club rugby finally. My third piece is the unfortunate piece, and that is that almost all the Dallas area universities are still shut down from games. Now, they have started training. I was approved today to go on campus to coach, along with our head coach, Usani Iwa, for the SMU Rugby Club.
All right.
UNT, I don't know if they have the same situation going on, but I know that they said players are practicing, but they are still required to practice in groups of 10. They can't use the same equipment. I mean, a lot of this kind of baloney stuff. We got rugby games being played. The universities are just being very, very careful with the kids.
CYA.
Yeah. So, it's something. So we'll get out there. We'll get some fitness in. There may or may not be games played in the near future.
Yeah.
We just have to wait and see what the universities say. And it's the biggest problem is that TRU has lifted everything for university club play for now, I think 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So from TRU's perspective, we can do whatever we want to. But every single one of the universities at this point has basically said there will be no games. I know that Abilene Christian has been open basically since like October. So they've been trying to get runouts. It's just all the universities that are in the big cities. I know UNT shut down, UTD, and University of Dallas as well. And then I've heard Texas State's been shut down. And Texas, I'm guessing Texas is probably training and
Yeah,
they
just
may
not
or may
playing.
not be allowed to play matches yet.
Yeah.
So that's the unfortunate part from the university level. You know, I get being careful, but
crazy because high school's playing too. Like
I know.
Westlake and Lake Travis played. I know that they played the Woodlands and Lake Travis are playing.
These kids could sit
everybody's
in
playing.
classrooms
Yeah.
a couple feet away from each other for, you know, an hour or two, but they can't go on a rugby field where you won't be near somebody for longer than, you know, a minute max at a time, right? While the coaches give instruction, that's it.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
All right.
So I think that's all that's going on in Dallas as far as rugby. You know, we're trying to do a few watch parties for MLR. I know a lot of guys are hanging on to the Jackals thing, but people are really frustrated.
Can
the
I
way
play
that
devil's
they
advocate for a minute and be
dealt
that
with
and
the
be that guy?
players, very disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said what were you saying with the player? Sorry, I interrupted you. For what was up with the
Oh,
players?
I was just saying that it was, you know, guys are kind of you know, upset, disappointed about the way that the Jackals organization treated the players.
Yeah.
I've
heard some things coming out of it about the end there that did not sit well with a lot of people. So yeah, probably to be taken offline.
Yeah, we can take that offline. I'd like to hear that.
We can take it off. Yeah, I can. Yeah, but you know, so I'm going to play devil's advocate real quick. Do you think you will get a team next year? Because in my mind, if I'm on the outside not looking in, and Grant's laughing over there, I hate to do this, but it's true. It's like it just seems like they're holding on with the hope that something's going to happen, but yet one coach goes, other coach goes. It just seems as though can't get your shit together. I don't know. That's just me. I don't know. Grant's is laughing.
You know,
he put himself on mute because he knows I don't care.
I think if we didn't see the staff, you know, going out and doing events together, traveling down to Austin to watch a match to see how
I'll give you
Austin's doing things, like if there wasn't that going on, I think we would have a lot more doubt right now.
Yeah.
To me, I give it about a 75% chance of happening next year.
If you'd have had radio silence, I'd have said no. There's no way.
I would have said there's a 40% chance that we'd have a team next year if that was the case.
Yeah. Well, you're very optimistic.
I'll give you 400 to 1 odds that they actually have a team next year.
Oh,
oh wow, wow!
So $10 to get $4,000 is
$4,000.
I can use that $4,000.
and we will have it paid.
We'll take
out.
that offline too.
We'll have it paid out here on Texas Rugby Monthly. Stay tuned, folks. Oh man, Grant.
He has to shave his beard.
You got to
if they have a game next year.
Oh no! That bet's not on. That bet's not on.
Oh shit!
You'd rather give me $4,000 than shave his beard.
So before I get started on Houston, I got to apologize for something.
Okay.
We are recording this on NFL draft night, and the Fins are about to come up. And you're going to hear somebody yelling in the background and cussing.
Okay.
And I want to apologize for that in the beginning.
So they're about to.
It is the Cole House's annual scream and yell and cuss at the TV night.
I thought that was when the cat. I thought that was when the Cats played.
No. That's the NFL draft night. Anything the Dolphins do is going to be screamed at because it's not what anybody thinks they should do.
Yeah, of course. That's every.
I'm not a Dolphins fan, but I got lucky enough to go sit in a box in Miami at a game and watch.
Very nice stadium.
And it was a Dolphins team that hadn't won a game all year. They might have been like 0-12 or 1-11 or something like that. And last play of the game, they ran a crossing route. Guy catches it, goes 60, 70 yards for a touchdown. They win on that play. I've never been more excited at a football game than that game, and I don't like the Dolphins.
Yeah. Right.
Well, my wife is a dyed-in-the-wool Dolphins fan and always has been. She doesn't care whether they win or lose. She loves them, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. She's from Iowa, and was raised in Vegas.
Just to let you know, the pick was in. The number for the first round, the number 6 pick, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle out of the University of Alabama. 5'10", 180 pounds, wide receiver.
And anybody coming out of Alabama going to the Fins is going to get cursed in my house.
Yeah, right.
Oh no.
Because Alabama is hated as much as the Patriots are here.
Oh, that's good. All right.
Well, now that you're in the SEC, yeah, right.
Yeah. So,
all right, Grant, what's going on in Houston?
I've warned y'all about what's going on in Houston in this house. But hey, I want to give a shout out. Hark and Hurt have been playing, and they had a match a couple weekends ago, and Hark won out on that. But it was a good, hard fought match. The Arrows have been playing. They're a D3 team here in Houston, but they've actually got about 2 sides. So they came out and played the Dallas Rugby when Dallas Rugby came up here to play us. So that was a good. You hear it, don't you?
This is great.
And
it's high quality entertainment.
Yeah, and so good things going on in club rugby in Houston. Of course, high school rugby's at a peak right now. The Woodlands are tearing up the field.
Yeah, they're
Straight Jesuit has had a good year, but just haven't been able to end it out. But they've got, one of the things about Strake is they're definitely in a growth year.
Yeah,
and you see this in Houston between the 3 Catholic high schools, Strake, St. Pius X, and St. Thomas. Is they kind of run on a cyclist of which team's up. And so right now Strake's up, and the cycle, it goes, and it doesn't really have a set number of years, but one team will be up and the others will be kind of middle range or down. But I think that's changing a lot in Houston with the amount of youth rugby that's happening here, and we're seeing those players move into the high school teams. So that's something I think we're going to see a big change in the next few years here.
I love it. People listen to this for the first time are going, what the hell is going on this podcast?
What kind of show is this?
What kind of rubbish is this?
And it's good to see a lot of the high school games have been played at Aviva, and
that's fantastic. By the way, I love that. I absolutely love that.
Especially the U18 games between different teams, and and Brother Martin coming over. The team from, I can't remember which team it was, but I think it was a team in New York that came down and rolled through and played some of the high school teams here. So Aviva is kind of becoming a mecca, I would say. Nice. And you'll come to, if you come on a Saturday in April and May to the game, you can get to the field around noon and have 3 rugby games going on at all times until the Cats kick off.
And the goal is to keep them all to stay around and to watch that stadium.
And then you look, Arrows, they just basically parked out in the parking lot there in the northeast corner of the parking lot, set up their tents, and after their game, they tailgated and hosted Dallas Rugby, and went on from there. So I was really impressed with that. So a lot of good things are happening out there, and I really want to give a shout out to all those people that are in Houston making club and high school club and youth rugby happen.
Yeah,
it's been. You watch them; they make sure the kids are segregated, and in groups of 10, and they're playing flag, and they get all their checks done, and there's a massive amount of adults that have to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So that these kids can play. And then afterwards, you'll see the St. Thomas team, the St. Thomas moms or the Strake moms, they've pulled up right there at the corner between the main field and the field 1. They'll have tables set up and have a potluck dinner set out for the visiting team, so they can still do team feed.
That's awesome.
That's and so they haven't lost any of the spirit of rugby here. So You know, we're Rugby HTX we've had what we think is a good season so far. We don't measure our success on the field so much. I mean, though we have had 3 wins so far.
Yeah.
But we really measure our success in the fact that we've had 3 players called up to the Cats.
Yeah.
And
Which is awesome.
And that's and that's pretty important. And then last week when we went to play the Blacks, we were missing half our front row. 1 got called up, 2 were sick and just couldn't. I mean, they had stomach flu, couldn't make. 1 had pneumonia.
Ooh.
And so we went up to Austin with a loosehead prop who'd never played with us before, had only practiced with us for a week, and had been playing center for his college team the season before. Okay.
Can you imagine that center then?
Yeah. And so I'm sitting, I mean, and when I look at him, I'm thinking,
you played center?
Like much. No, he doesn't look like much.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't look like an athlete, but when you watch him play, it's like Mikey Teo.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter that he doesn't look like an athlete.
Right.
What he plays like is a different story.
Yeah.
I saw this guy tackle 3 people in front of me at different times in the game. He smiles when he tackles.
He's one of those.
Yeah.
He's like,
he's got a mullet. I mean, he's, you know, but he goes into a tackle smiling. And so we were, you know, we were very blessed to have him come out and start with our squad. And we got him on the bench this week against XO, and but that's only because we've got our sick ones back, and we can, you know, we want to get out there and put on a big show. They're a big, you know, Rugby Town XO is a big team.
This is an interesting matchup, and it's one we've been talking about for a while. And, you know,
yeah,
back when it first got announced, it'll be.
Yeah, one of the things I think in watching some of the XO games, their scrum does not get near as low as ours does.
Yeah.
And, you know, knowing what I know, and you know, by the time this airs, the game will have played.
Yeah.
But knowing what I know of
I may get it out tomorrow.
Okay. How Cat Roche referees the scrums.
Yeah.
You know, once their butts get above their shoulders too much, we're going to be getting penalties all day long.
Yeah.
For you know, we're going to be, you know, earning those penalties, and which is what happened when we played the Blacks last week. You know, unfortunately for the Blacks, you know, they didn't have a whole lot of front rows either, and so we both played a really tight game in the scrum. We got to win all of our put-ins, and we won quite a few of theirs. So I was very impressed by that. I was impressed by our guys, the defense they played this year. You know, after that first game against Dallas Rugby, we really stepped up our defense, and we figured, hey, let's do that. We can win that, right? And so we've been playing to our structure on defense, and been very impressed with the guys, and that's why we're getting call-ups. That's why the coaches, the Cats coaches, are out there watching our games when we're playing at home.
Yeah.
You know, and the Cats are out there too, because these guys are playing at that, you know, they're playing to get at that level, and not all of them are at that level yet, but they're all playing with a desire to be there, and you can see it. The good thing about this last week, we finally got to play to our offensive structure. We finally basically started moving the ball out to our edge and letting our edge do the work, and then coming back inside once it bunched up. You know, and that's why we were able to win against Austin Blacks. You know, the Blacks played a hell of a game. They were, I mean, even with the young team, they were tough as nails, as they always are. It's anything, I mean, nothing less than what you'd expect from them. The difference was there was a lot of talent and experience versus a lot of inexperience and talent. So, you know, the Blacks, I'm telling you, there's a lot of talent on the Blacks right now. If they keep going the direction they're going and you know, get back into the swing of it next season, they're going to be as tough to beat as they always have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Texas State's been filtering a lot of their players to the Blacks.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
You know,
too.
I know a lot of those kids. I played with their dads. Not to age myself, but yeah.
That's funny.
Hey,
But,
man, one of my players at A&M back from the '90s, his son's played at A&M now.
There you go.
So,
you start feeling old when people you played with have kids playing at that level.
Yeah.
right.
Luckily, my kids aren't quite that old that I can go, oh, man, I'm really old and my kids are playing. But I know that Texas State's been filtering a lot of their players up to that black squad, and that's only going to help them going forward because that Texas State program is very good.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening with Rugby HTX. Some of the things that I think we want to watch out of there. We've got a couple of young names that are definitely going to come up in later years. DJ Selby, David John Selby, and Cole Illum, I think, both have the ability to make it at the next level if they desire to. I think DJ, will definitely have the desire to. Cole has the opportunity. It's just whether that's something he wants or not. So Cole's
Talk
at
to us like we don't know who it is.
so Cole's a scrum half, and DJ plays. He plays fullback for us, but he's really a fly half.
Okay.
But I mean, he's blossomed as a fullback for us, and he's got a phenomenal boot. I saw that kid. He kicked a drop kick at St. Pius one time, and he was on the 40-meter line on the opposite side of the field when he drop kicked it.
10. Wow.
So yeah, that
ball.
ball.
In case you're doing math on there.
That ball went well. It actually went 70 yards because remember, the goalpost is in the back of the end goal.
Yeah, that's right.
So and it went over the fence and hit a car out in the parking lot. so yeah.
This is Dan Carter. Is Dan Carter's kid?
Yeah, Selby. I mean,
Jordy Barrett.
Really, yeah, I mean, when he's on and when he's he's got a boot that is just it's a howitzer.
Yeah. And
there's some kids in there that are coming up. One of the things I was really happy to see last week is Max Wilson started throwing his weight around. He is a 6'6" lock for us, and it came up through the Brazosport Spartans and the Houston Sabercats Junior Academy. Big guy. He's putting on muscle right now, and he's just now learning to really throw his weight around and be, that lock that he needs to be. And I think a few more games and a season at sevens working on the skills, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with out there.
I'm excited to see what this seventh season looks like.
Yeah, it'll be.
And then this week we've had 3 or 4 kids. They're out of college now. They're back in town, and they're coming out to practice with us. They tend to be with us through the 7th season. Our 7th season starts the day after Memorial Day. And, we intend to host a 7s tournament down here in Houston, and as well as make as many tournaments as we can around the state.
Sweet.
And maybe even farther afield. So
what's going on with the Cats?
Cats, man, we're 2 and 3 right now. One thing I got to say is, so we saw the first game that we played, and we won against Seattle, and then the game we played and won against the Legion. Yeah. And in both of those games, we played a simpler offense than we played in the 2 games we got shut out in.
Yeah.
In those 2 games, we played a very complex offense. The team wasn't ready to play at that level, that complexity yet. They hadn't got the simple parts of the game down. They didn't have the workup time to have that complex game down. And so a lot of what happened there was they're beating themselves in those 2 games where they got shut out because they just weren't on. They weren't on, and they were trying to play a system they weren't ready to play yet. Well, they get to the simpler system against San Diego, and we saw the results there. They continue to build on that against the Guiltinis, and you put up 43 points against the Guiltinis.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
90 in a 93-point match. I'm not upset about that.
No.
Again, where's that defense?
but their offense worked, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And defense is something we know that they can do when they want to do it.
Yeah.
So now that's the next thing, right? We got to get that defensive structure in place and working. and against a team like the Giltinis, who will come from depth at all angles.
Yeah.
That's difficult. I mean, you've got to adjust your defense on the fly sometimes, and the defense you set out to play is not the defense you're going to put in place once the ball starts moving. So, and that's what a lot of teams just don't seem to be able to do against the Giltinis, is adjust their defenses on the fly. Yeah. And, you look at the speed with which the Giltinis are moving around the field, the speed with which they get the ball out at the breakdown. They're spending
on the decision making.
Yeah.
Seems like it's on a totally different level.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And, it helps that you have Ashley Cooper and Vandermeer in there. Yeah. Those guys are, they're elite level world-class athletes.
So along with Vandermeer and Wing, they pretty much are featuring the 2012 National Wallabies team that went to the World Cup. So
not all of them,
that team's a bit unfair.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, then you look at look at New England Free Jacks and all of the Super Rugby players that are on that team.
Yeah.
I mean, is that unfair? I don't think it's unfair. I think this article that Martin Pengelly wrote today and published today, I think it's very telling about where MLR is going to go, and I think the place it's going to go is in a money bracket that is far and away above what World Rugby can manage. And they're going to World Rugby is going to end up being a follower instead of a leader when it comes to this, because the MLR is basically painting a picture of what can be right now. And once they get the right money in there and the right players in there, and we built up a player base from stateside that can bolster all of these foreigners that can come over and play. And that we're just 2-3 years out from doing that. Okay. Yeah. We're not that far. It's not like we're 5 to 10 years out. We're 2 to 3 years out from making that happen. And once that happens, I think that the money we see going into the MLR, and then what the MLR's knock-on effect is with the other leagues in the world, is going to be something that World Rugby is going to have to deal with in order for them to maintain the control over the game they want. And I don't think that they're going to maintain that control the way they think they are.
Yeah.
Because the old fuddy-duddy, that control go down to the different RFUs.
Once Bill Beaumont finally goes out, and some of the other guys that are in his era go out, those are the last of the real union guys, right? The real guys who, country first, club second, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got a bunch of guys who understand, Jason Leonard, who understand just how important it is to play for country, but they also understand just how important the club game is to keep everything financially stable.
Yeah, for sure.
And so once your Augustine Bichot and your Jason Leonards become in charge of that stuff,
should have taken him. Should have taken him.
Once you see those guys getting into place, the Dan Paynes of the world getting into the power structure of World Rugby, then you'll start to see the club game come to the fore, and we'll see, and there'll be a lot more money in the sport. And so the Rugby World Cup will be a spectacle on par with the FIFA World Cup.
We can only hope so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, can you imagine? So it's no doubt that there's only 2 stadiums in Texas that could really host a World Cup match, and that's AT&T and NRG.
Yeah.
And they have the fields. They have the fields that can be made to that size.
Sure.
But can you imagine packing 100,000 people in to watch a Rugby World Cup final?
Love to see that happen in Texas.
In Texas, and give us 5 years, 6 years maybe, and we'll be able to put 48 to 50,000 people into all 48 of the Rugby World Cup matches, pool matches. So, it'll average to 48 to 50,000 people per match. And that's going to be a real deal. I mean, that's going to happen. I think in the next couple of years we'll see Bold Stadium, Aviva, maybe the AT&T baseball stadium. What's the one? Rick, help me out.
Ballpark in Arlington.
Yeah.
I
I don't know if it's still called Globe Life, but it used to be
Globe Life. So, and we'll see stadiums like that hosting international matches. And, as they sell out and move up, so, U.S. may play Chile down here in Aviva.
Yeah.
And load it up with 4,000 people. And then it may go over to Bold to play Canada and just sell out Bold.
Yeah.
Which would be awesome because I got to say, man, I love the atmosphere at Bold. I hate having to walk everywhere.
Yeah.
But I love the atmosphere there. It was cool.
It's great. It's a vibrant atmosphere for sure.
It's good to see Noxie back doing something.
God, he's insane.
Holding a wallaby.
Oh, man.
At the last game.
Everywhere.
It was funny, when at the Cats game, Noxie was asking for an intern, and the intern that he was asking for was standing right there in front of us, not responding. And I think she was frozen and didn't know what to do.
Oh, that's funny.
Kind of funny. It was kind of funny, and so we talked about this. Noxie holding a wallaby is nothing.
Yeah.
Noxie interviewing Alexis Texas before the match out on the
I have no idea.
What?
I don't know who that is.
Yes.
You're a liar.
You're a liar, Dustin Z.
Anyway, thanks for joining Texas Rugby.
I don't know.
On that note,
but I look up to the screen and I immediately go, "Oh, that really is her." And Noxie's talking, and he doesn't know. And I'm messaging Kit and Lincoln, and telling them what's happening. And they're like, "No way!" I said, "Wait, man, look."
That's funny.
Have Scotty give you the playback. He just got on the screen.
There was a match. I don't remember what match it was, but talking about celebrities, who was it? Scherzinger. Nicole Scherzinger was at an MLR match this weekend.
The Gold match. LA.
Yeah. She's dating a former rugby league player.
No, Rugby Union.
Right. Is it a Union player? Who?
Yeah.
Shaw or something?
I don't know his name.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway,
it's not Texas.
That's what I've got to say for Houston tonight.
It's definitely not Alexis, Texas.
Anyway, yeah, I know. So, hey guys, another great episode of the show. Little side conversations in the back there, yelling at picks of the draft. I
think she's yelling at me right now.
Yeah, she's yelling at you to get off the damn show. She's like,
your fault.
You're going too damn long. So I'm sure my wife is in the other room yelling at me going too damn long too. Hey, really appreciate it. The April edition of Texas Rugby Monthly. Guys, hey, don't forget, if you want to help support Texas families that have been impacted by the storms that hit here this past winter, it's still going on. We're Texas, the Rugby for Texas t-shirts are on the rugbyshop.com/Austin Rugby Supporters. We put it under the whole one thing because we have the Gil Groniak line too, which is awesome.
Very nice.
But those shirts are made. I think there was a 14-day delay because they were making it, and of course it was the beginning of the season for MLR, so everybody was just busy with stuff. But they are ready inside the shop, so you can buy t-shirts, tank tops, sweaters, whatever you want. It's all there. Go and support. 100% goes to charity. Guys, another great episode.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Thanks for joining. For Rick Collins up in Dallas, Grant Cole over there in Houston, who has to go watch the rest of the NFL draft. I'm Dustin Zaire down in Austin. Yeah. Saying thanks for watching and listening to Texas Rugby Monthly. And I'll get it out eventually. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for joining.
Yep. See ya.